Hey, what's up guys? It's Marc with thebasswizard.com, and in this video I'm going to be answering the #1 question I get asked, which is, what bass should I buy? Stay tuned. So what bass should you buy? Here's my opinion on it. I would stay away from anything in the beginner bass category. And that's usually the basses that cost around like $200. Unless that's all you can afford, then absolutely go for it. But if you can spend a little bit more, I'd probably go for something more in the $500 to $600 range, like a Mexican Fender jazz bass or P bass. And here's why. When you first start playing bass, you'll fall into one of two categories. The first category is the person who decides they want to learn how to play bass, they go out, they buy a bass, and then they either lose interest, or they don't like it, or they find that they don't have enough time for it, and then they just stop playing. And the second category, which hopefully is the majority of us, is the person who buys a bass, starts learning, really likes it, and ends up playing for life. If you bought a very cheap $200 beginner bass and you fell into the first category, when you decide that you don't want to play anymore, what are you going to do with that bass? You're going to want to sell it. But the problem is that when you have a really cheap bass, you're going to have a very hard time selling it, and it's basically going to have no resale value. If you find someone to buy it, they'll pay you very little money for it because it's not really worth much. If you had bought something in the $500 to $600 range, like a Mexican jazz bass or P bass, there's a lot of people that will be interested in buying that bass, and you probably wouldn't lose that much money. Now, if you fell into the second category and you bought a really cheap bass, you're going to reach a point where you reach that threshold where you're going from beginner to intermediate, and you're going to want a nicer bass. You're not going to play that beginner bass for the rest of your life. You're going to reach that point where you want something nicer, something that plays better, sounds better, something that's just more professional. And then you have to buy a second bass, and you got to spend more money, and then you have this beginner bass that you're not going to use anymore, just sitting there, and it's just costing you money. And if you had gotten something nice from the start, then you have a bass that you can play for many, many years, or even for a lifetime. Like this bass, for example. I bought this bass probably around 20 years ago, and I wasn't a complete beginner when I bought it, but I reached that threshold. I had a really cheap bass, and then I reached that point where I started getting better at the instrument, and I just wanted something a little better. So I bought this bass, which at the time cost me like $700. And I still play it to this day. It's still a great bass. You see it on a lot of my videos. I've been playing it in my professional career, and it's really a bass that will last me a lifetime. I paid $700 for it, and if I wanted to sell this bass today, I could probably get like $1,000 for it at least. So I didn't lose money on it, and I got something that can last me throughout my whole career. So if you spend a little bit more, you'll get a bass like this where you can play it forever, play it for a long time, and you can even sell it and it'll still have a really good resale value. And in a lot of my videos, you even see me playing a Schecter bass that costs like $700. So you really don't have to spend a lot of money to get a really good sounding professional bass. And if you spend that money early on, then you'll have a bass that you can use for the rest of your life. As you reach an intermediate level, an advanced level, you can keep playing that same bass. And another issue is sometimes the really cheap basses are so poorly made that you just can't set them up properly. The necks are really bad, the truss rod is broken. And one time I had a student that had a really cheap bass, and the strings were like that high off the fretboard. And it was very difficult to play, especially for a beginner. And I tried to set it up for him, but it was just such a cheap bass. It was so poorly made that the truss rod just wouldn't move. If you get something a little bit better, like I said, a Mexican Fender jazz bass or P bass, those are classic basses. They're great. They're about $500 or $600. A worthy investment. You can set them up to play nicely. They sound great, they play great, and it's just a really great way to get started. So, like I said, if all you can afford is the really cheap bass, absolutely go for it. That's better than nothing. If you can afford a little bit more, I highly recommend it. So I hope you found that helpful. I hope those tips help you guys, and I wish you the best of luck with your new bass. Now, slap bass in its most basic form consists of two things. There's the thumbing and the plucking. And of course, as you get more advanced, there are more things like double plucking, there's left-handed stuff, there's a lot more that can go into it.